Welcome to Taste Buds. I'm Debra Eckerling, goal strategist, writer, and foodie, and today I'm speaking with Shani Seidman, who's Chief Marketing Officer of Kayco Kosher Foods, and they've got brands I'm sure you recognize, including Manischewitz. So welcome, Shani. So nice to have you here.
It's so great to be here, Deborah. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
You're basically the voice of Manischewitz. So how did that happen?
So I was with the brand, and actually in an earlier ownership, in the previous ownership. I came into the brand in 2017 as the marketing director there. I remember when the recruiter called me about the position and said, I think you'd be great for this. I think it's a perfect match. I was already in the food business doing marketing for food companies. And she knew my background. I was doing a different kosher food company. She said it's the Manischewitz brand. And I remember thinking like, okay, it's a really well-known brand and it's been around for a while. And I know that brand means so much to so many people. I was like, yes, I will go. Let's go in the interview. Let's see what happens. Let's see what plays out. So I started working there. Um, Actually, right after I started working there, they announced that they used to be doing a lot of their own manufacturing, and it was in the Newark, New Jersey location. And I saw the gefilte fish line, and I saw the matzo line. And right after I started working there that summer, they actually shut down those lines and went private. Took them to other third party manufacturers. So it's interesting because I came at a big transition time for the brand. It had been in a lot of different hands over the years. And then in 2019, the brand was sold to Kayco. Kayco bought the brand, and actually a family of brands that the Manischewitz company owned. And I always joke I was like a line item on the sale. I like came with the brand. I've been working with the brand for a few years, and I like started to. What I noticed right away with the brand is that there's so much nostalgia. The moment you say the brand name to anyone, they're just like, "Oh, I have these memories of Manischewitz being at my Passover seder, or making Manischewitz chicken soup with my grandmother." Like right away, it really like that memory start flooding back for people, and I just like right away it hit me like it does really mean a lot to a lot of people. And when we came here to Kayco, it's a family owned company actually, and I think what I felt like was that the brand started out from the Manischewitz company in 1888, and it was like back in the hands of a family owned company, and I feel like the passion was back. um Passion for the products and the brand name, and like it's in like I felt like it was in the right hands. And it was always the intention of Kayco to do this rebrand. When even when they acquired the brands, they also knew about like I always say the equity of the brand identity is maybe even stronger than the sales. Like it just has it's in the zeitgeist of American culture and Jewish culture. So I came over in 2019. I transitioned the business for 6 months, and then they gave me a larger role managing the marketing for all their brands. They actually have a big portfolio of brands that Kayco owns and distributes. So now Manischewitz is still my favorite child, but I actually do marketing for all the brands that under the Kayco umbrella. Like I do marketing for all of that.
So do you remember, you're talking about people have all this nostalgia for Manischewitz. What about you? What are your early Manischewitz food memories?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I grew up, going to seder every year and cooking with my grandmother. And like, okay, for example, matzo meal. I have memories using Manischewitz matzo meal. Like in we used it in making matzo balls. We used it to make kugels on Passover. So I just have these memories of like her going into her pantry and taking out these ingredients, like having the matzah at the table, like this square matzah was, at our table every year. And of course, like the macaroons, they had like all these flavors of macaroons growing up, and you waited for the Passover section to go up to get your macaroons. Like it was like a treat all year round, but for some reason, like it was only on the Passover section in the grocery store. So I have all these, it's like floods back to you. And I feel like sometimes when you have all this nostalgia, it's you feel like it's individual. But what I realized for Manischewitz, it's like a collective nostalgia. So it means even more. It's like a nostalgia for a certain time. It's nostalgia for like, family. And it's not just my individualized connection, which it's really important to me because growing up with Jewish culture and Passover seders, but I realized it's like collectively, we all feel the same way about this brand.
And so your family, they're probably, is this like my child Revs Manischewitz? Is there like that extra pride in there?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's funny they call me Mrs. Manischewitz here, because there was a marketing campaign in like the 80s and 90s where which is a very 80s and 90s campaign where they had a Mrs. Manischewitz like putting out recipes and stuff like that. So like they referenced that, but at first it was like very um it was like very surreal that we're like working on a brand that we had at our tables growing up. So yeah.
Now, I want to know, when is the Mrs. Manischewitz a Hallmark movie? Because that's really what I'm getting from this
Oh my
conversation.
gosh.
It's that love, right?
Yeah. It's joy and love. I when every Passover we get like people reach out to us about these stories, and they're, reporters, they want an angle a lot of times, but I always felt like with Manischewitz and Passover, they're just like they came from this place of like, again, joy and nostalgia and love. Um, and it is, yeah, it does feel like it's like almost like a movie, the way that I also feel like the way that it's like the comeback kid. Um, because the brand, because it's been around for so long. 1888 is over 130 years ago, and it survived through like what was innovative at the time. Like I say this a lot, but gefilte fish was an innovation. Shelf stable gefilte fish in a jar was an innovation because it used to be you have to get like fresh fish and grind it up and put it. Your grandmother would have to slave over it for a day. To just keep coming out with like iconic Jewish traditional dishes, but in a new format. You put it out in a new as a mix so that you don't have to make matzo balls from scratch. Now we have a mix for you. You just add an egg. That's a new format. This Passover we have the matzo balls in the freezer, so you don't even have to make. We're like kind of going with the flow, like how the consumers behaving. This is how we want to attract more modern, younger consumers. We are meeting them where they're at. They're grabbing things from the freezer and defrosting them. I mean, I am. At home. So we know that we don't want, maybe they want to make their fresh matzo balls, and maybe they want to have Manischewitz make it for them. So we are really meeting the new consumer where they're at. And we're just excited. Again, it's the joy I feel from when it brings a smile to people's face. We just announced this new rebrand, and everything bold and new and kind of quirky and fun. And like people are really responding to it because that's kind of what they want from this brand. So we're really happy to give it to them.
So many questions. The obvious one is gefilte fish in a jar. It gets a really bad reputation. What do you have to say to those jarred gefilte fish
Yeah.
skeptics?
Okay. So I would say yes, it may not be for everyone, but I would recommend trying it again. First of all, I grew up with my grandmother making fresh gefilte fish for the holidays, so I didn't have to rely on the jar. But when I started working at the company, we had a test kitchen. We used to test we used to test, new samples from the plants. And I'm like, okay. And then I was eating, I'm like, this is good. This is really good. So I would just recommend trying it again. There's actually a documentary called Ugly Delicious. It has nothing to do with Manischewitz. It's about food that may be ugly, but it's delicious. And I think that's what I think about when I think about this food, that it's comforting and I just give it another chance. And it could not be for everyone, but we have a big portfolio. So, we have matzo ball soups and macaroons, and there's so much to do with the products. Some of them which are trending now again, which is one of the recipes I chose is actually trending. They're showing up in Bon Appetit and in restaurants in New York City. So like there are so many other parts of Jewish cuisine that if it's not for you, I do recommend trying it, but if it's not for you, we have other things that we can offer.
Which is this recipe that's trending?
So the matzo brei, you heard of matzo brei?
I love matzo brei. Are you kidding me?
So it's
So to
great.
me, matzo brei is Passover, right? I mean, I know you can eat it year
Exactly.
round, but to me, that
Exactly.
is the iconic Passover food. So can you tell me about this recipe?
I chose it because again, it's iconic. It uses matzah, which we make a lot of. And when you're talking about personal, I remember Passover was growing up. My dad, my mom, and my grandmother like did everything, like everything. But my dad, his one job was to make matzah brei, and he took it very seriously. And he was just so he was just so excited about making it, and like he made a whole to do about it. He pretended it was like, he told everyone when it was going to be ready in the morning. And so to me, it's like a very personal a thing too. And I've been seeing it lately in showing up in restaurant menus, in not just kosher restaurants in New York City, just in regular restaurants. And I saw Bon Appetit had a matzo brei recipe, and I just feel like it's kind of coming back into vogue. So the one I chose is like, I think of it as like think of your breakfast omelet. So it's a kind of just like uplift, like like making it little more upscale. So when you can have an omelet, or you can have like a souped up, like an overstuffed omelet with like vegetables and mushrooms. So what the recipe I chose has like sauteed tomatoes and asparagus, which is more upscale. But it's just and the way you prepare it, with like, you saute it beforehand, you like soften them, and you add it to like the top of your matzo brei. Like to me, that's like the comfort and wholesomeness of the dish, and you're elevating it. So like even if you have company come over on Passover, and not just Passover, it's so good. It can be something that you're like okay presenting, because it's like a little bit of fancy matzo brei.
And so now I feel like the food competition shows should give matzo brei as a challenge to see what people come up with, because isn't that really the point? Matzo
Absolutely.
brei is not just matzah and egg. I usually do like the sweet version, so put in raisins and a little vanilla and
Yeah.
cinnamon, and then it's like the perfect sweet matzo brei. But you really can uh, omeletize it, I guess. Put whatever other
Yeah, it's
flavors
a
and really
scramble,
elevate it.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah. It's definitely an elevated version, and it's so good, savory with this, with the egg and the matzah, softened matzah. It's just like a great palette for anything. So I love the idea. I love the idea of like having a competition on, years ago, Manischewitz did a latke competition on like topping your latke. Traditional sour cream and or applesauce. And there's two teams, two camps. You put sour cream on yours or applesauce. But I've seen people do like cream cheese and lox and capers, and like there's just so many different You can go savory, you can go sweet. There's something like matzo is like definitely a canvas for anything. So that was one of the recipes that I wanted to talk about. Again, talking about nostalgia and just things that bring back memories.
I have to ask, are you the one who cooks in your family, or do you just bring home a bunch of Manischewitz stuff and throw things together?
Surprisingly, no. My husband loves to cook. He actually like it's no, he's just like he like goes through, we still get print magazines to our house because he loves going through the recipes and like picking out what to eat, what to make, and he just enjoys it. So he actually, it's very funny because I don't do the cooking for my family. But he does love when I bring home new products for him to try. So he does like test recipe for me.
I think that this was Bashir, right? The propagator of the food products
To share.
and the guy who
Exactly.
loves to cook. I
Yep.
want to go back before we wrap. The whole nostalgia thing I think is really important, but I also in the world we live in and the time we live in, I think it's more important than ever that we show the good of the Jewishness. So how do you think,
Yeah.
how does what you do play into that?
Yeah. No, we obviously, it is very um charged time. We feel it. I think everyone feels it. It's funny, or I would say it's interesting because we've been working on this rebrand for 2 years now. It's not just like something we thought up, over the past few months. We have a lot of inventory. We took a long time. We did like a soul searching mission for this brand. It wasn't just like redesigning, it was like identity. And our identity, talk about share. What we realized the identity for the brand is we are inviting people to our table, anyone. It's Jewish food for all. We want the kosher aisle to be a destination for anyone who's culturally curious and wants to try our really like rich culture. But our table is endlessly long and endlessly wide. And I think that the times that we came out with this now, we have a lot of pride, first of all, in our tradition, but we also are inviting anyone who wants to come and sit down with us and break matzah with us. Um, that is our core. That's our ethos, and it means so much. It means even more to us now, because we just well, all we want is to share goodness and joy over food with anyone who wants to sit down with us.
Well, the subhead of the show, so the Taste Buds with Deb, bite-sized conversations about food, cooking, and community. So I think that what you said, it's all in one because they
Yeah.
really do go hand in hand. Because food without community, well, we're gonna eat it anyway. But that whole
Mm.
process of the three elements coming together, I think that's what makes it special, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was saying before about the collective nostalgia. So I have my individual, like you asked me, but in fact, you feel so much more united when you have this collective nostalgia. And people are coming out of the woodworks to share their memories they have of this brand. And what we want to do is be even more inclusive, and share with even more people that maybe not have had Jewish food before, but are open. If you're open to try it, we want you to come to the table.
You've got in your rebrand Yiddishism. So I want to know which is your favorite Yiddishism and why?
Oh, it's hard to pick. I love them all. Um, we came out with we have some merch. We're having a lot of fun on with the merch because like sky's the limit. We came out with a tank top that says "Man, I schwitz."
Cute.
Man, I schwitz. Love that one. I also love there's Bupkas Like Us. We use it on the pack. Um, we use on our matzah pack or one of our pack our products. Schmear with friends. Um, Cooking. I took us off. I know you asked for my favorite, but I couldn't pick. There's so many. But those are just a few that I love. And again, it's really just like connecting to something that we have roots in. These are our roots. We're not pretending to be anyone else. These are our roots. We're standing proud in them. We want everyone to be in on the joke with us, and come and try our foods.
Well, there is power in joy and happy, which I think is what's underscoring everything that you do. What is your perfect bagel?
It's a lot. It's loaded. It's not simple. Okay, I like the everything toasted with cream cheese and white fish and lox. But you need to have, okay, but you also still need the onion, tomato, no lettuce, onion, tomato. That's my perfect bagel. It's it's pretty fully loaded. And in New York nowadays, it costs like 20 bucks,
But totally worth it, right?
but not scooped out. Don't scoop it out. It's totally worth it. Oh, yes, the calories and the cost.
Awesome. Do you have any final food for thought?
No, I think that we covered everything. I think that I would say that this is only the beginning. We have a lot more in store for the rest of the year in terms of new products, and just new communications. And we're really active in social media, and we just have a lot more planned for the year. We like to do a lot of announcements before Passover because that's when people are paying the most attention. But I think what we really want from the brand is to be enjoyed 365 days a year. So we just be on the lookout for some delicious Jewish dishes coming out.
Awesome. And I will tell you, I always have my Manischewitz matzo ball mix in my pantry because you never know when you need matzo balls.
And they make a lot and they're really good.
They are really good. So thank you so much for your time today. Where can people learn more about you and Kayco brands, aka Manischewitz, etc.?
Would invite everyone to go to our social media sites, Manischewitz Co. That's where we're like very active on Instagram and Twitter. We also have a website, manischewitz.com. And yeah, reach out to us. We love the dialogue. We're on X. I said Twitter before, but X. That's where we find we actually can talk directly to the consumer, which is so amazing. Amazing thing about modern day marketing. Like used to be, you put an ad up, you don't know who saw it, you don't know, but now we're talking directly to our consumer. So reach out to us, give us a shout out. We talk, we love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Shani Seidman, for joining me today. And thank you for tuning in to Taste Buds with Deb. Don't miss an episode. You can subscribe on YouTube and or your favorite podcast platform. And you can go to jewishjournal.com/podcast to read the recap/highlights and also get the recipes that go with each episode. So happy Passover. Enjoy all the foods. Until next time, bon appetit.